Hello guys, welcome to this channel. Today we were reviewing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I saw this recently. I was gonna go see it about a week ago. I got COVID, so I couldn't. But now I got to see it yesterday, and I was gonna review it yesterday. I thought, but I waited till today because I needed maybe a night to think about my final thoughts on it rather than just do it. So here today I'm going to give you my thoughts. Go check out my Marvel playlist and my Doctor Strange 2 initial reaction. Go subscribe because I'm closing in 100. I think I'm at 90 now. So go subscribe. You have 10 left. Let's try to get 10 before June 20th. I can't remember the date, but whatever. So yeah, not much to say, but we can get into it. I don't know what this movie's about. This movie has Doctor Strange sort of. So what happens is, at the beginning, you have this creature chasing down this person with these powers to go between universes and multiverse. We learn about multiverse stuff in No Way Home, so I'm not going to explain that. And then, yeah, she goes into the main universe that we are mostly spending time in, the MCU. I say mostly, I mean 98% of the time, I'd say. So there's that, and then you have she goes into the universe, but she said there's all these horrible creatures coming, and then Doctor Strange is trying to recruit Wanda, who knows a lot about this stuff. But turns out that Wanda was the person that sent that creature out to kill this girl, which her name is like American Chavez or something. And then the movie plays out essentially hopping through multiverses, getting a few cameos here and there. And yeah, out the good. And I actually liked how weird it was. I know some people were disappointed that wasn't hugely filled with cameos, and I'm actually kind of someone that didn't really want that from the beginning. Like, I mean, of course I would have wanted at least a few cameos, and I think the one that I feel like we could have gotten, I'm not going to spoil it, but you know, just spoiler alert, 3, 2, 1. I wish we would have gotten maybe Chris Evans as Human Torch. I feel like that would have been a really cool one. I don't know, that one would just be me. I think it would just work. It would just flow really interestingly. I don't know, that's just me. But other than that, yeah, there's a bunch of other great things. I kind of like how it's a bit shorter. Maybe it could have been maybe 10 minutes longer to flesh out maybe the beginning and maybe the end. But I mean, at the same time, 2 hours and 6 minutes. Kind of a nice duration. Now in this age, we're getting all of the last MCU movies are at least 2 hours and like 20 minutes. Shang-Chi might be a bit shorter, but yeah, like for example, No Way Home's like almost 2 hours and 40 minutes. So it's nice it's a little refreshing to get shorter. I think the character Doctor Strange, the lesson he kind of goes through is to kind of not always be so arrogant, and I kind of think this makes No Way Home a little bit better because this kind of shows that thinks he's right. And that's pretty much all we see in No Way Home. And I think this kind of makes all of those plot lines, pretty much everything to do with Doctor Strange in that movie, I think just a bit better. And I think as we go on the MCU, this character just gets better and better. I always love to see him, and no matter what, whether it's some scenes in Endgame, some scenes in most of Infinity War, and No Way Home. Now he gets another solo movie, which is awesome. And I think it's right to the point. I think the Raimi weirdness, I'm someone that was actually kind of more interested in that than the cameos. And I kind of got what I expected. I got a bunch of weirdness and a complete, like, horror sequence. Like, the whole sequence of the Illuminati. That's complete, like, I'd say, like, a complete, like, horror sequence. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, none of it really, like, creeped me out necessarily, but all the dark stuff with the dark hole and stuff just kind of reminded me a little bit. For example, Zombie Strange. There's some stuff that kind of reminded me a little bit of Evil Dead 2, which I've seen both the first. I haven't seen Army of Darkness, though. And this is what we got. I didn't know between if it was going to be like Spider-Man Sam Raimi, because I knew he was going to be like very stylized. I mean, if you bring Sam Raimi in to direct, why wouldn't you do that? But it's completely like Evil Dead 2 Sam Raimi, which is interesting. And the way he mixes in, but like there's some complete Sam Raimi stuff, like whether the way the eyes popping out and stuff in some of the creatures, the way some of the Illuminati characters get killed. Sorry if I spoiled that. And then another one is like you have Zombie Strange show up in the movie. You have all of the dark hole and horror stuff, the way Wanda looks at times. And I think Wanda as a villain worked really well. This is kind of like a part 2 to WandaVision. WandaVision is her kind of wanting her own universe. And then this is kind of her and then now that it got taken away, essentially, this is her rebelling against that. And the way it plays into her psychology is very interesting. I'm not a fan of how they killed her off. I mean, it makes sense. it worked. I don't really have a problem with the way they killed her off, but like it felt a little hollow. The emotion didn't really feel there. I feel like they could have done something a little bit better, a little bit more profound. But I feel like when you have this movie that's only 2 hours and 6 minutes, you can't really do that. I like how it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. It flows from scene to scene pretty nicely. And I'm actually okay with that usually. And I think going through all the multiverse, and a bunch of all the universes is all really cool. A bunch of great cameos. Not gonna spoil them. Yeah. So I think I'm glad it wasn't filled with cameos, because I feel like if it did, it would have felt like when you have good fan service like No Way Home and Endgame, it's great. But I bet if they did it here, like, I don't know, maybe it just would have been earned. And I feel like and there's a couple of issues I have with this movie as well. So, but I think Raimi's weirdness, it actually worked better than I thought it would. I was expecting it to kind of be like a little bit too weird. But if you ask me where I place this on my MCU ranking, I have no idea. Like, I don't know whether it's top of the B tier or middle of the A tier or top of the A tier. It's not S tier. I don't think it's that good. But I actually had a great time in the theater with this one. I think there's a couple of disappointing stuff. Like, I think I'm a little disappointed that there was none of the extra drawing kaleidoscope. You had one scene with that in Kamatage, or whatever you call it. But, I mean, it was actually a really well visualized scene, but I wish they did a bit more. Maybe that's just not like Raimi style. Maybe that's Derrickson's style, who directed the first one. Maybe, I'm not 100% sure, but I don't know, just my thoughts. Overall, I did really enjoy this one, but it's not without issues. I have the mixed, and the thing I'm kind of mixed on is the overall story and storytelling. I think I like, on one hand, I like how it's a bit very quick paced, and like you get a little bit of time to breathe, but not a lot. I think that part of it works, but then at the same time it just moves a bit too fast. At times I'm a little bit confused, and like the way, and especially the way it shifts between tones, which I'll talk about that later. So the way it kind of plays out, it's a little bit odd, especially the way it ends on this in the final battle. The way everything kind of led to the next scene, it was a little bit odd in how that worked. So, I mean, I don't know if it wasn't really a huge problem for the movie, but it was a little bit odd. But at the same time, I like how it was quick paced. I like how it was straightforward and to the point. And I think, honestly, I feel like when you have a comic book movie that's like so long, I feel like you have to make it complicated. They didn't need to make this complicated, and they did it for the better, in my opinion, I'd say. Now I have the bad, and the main thing I just didn't really vibe with. The way it switches between tones is very odd. Like, at the beginning, it's MCU generic tone for the most part, and then right in the middle, I'd say, kind of switches to Raimi, horror, Evil Dead 2 type tone. And then it kind of goes, and then it doesn't really go back to MCU tone, but the mix of it is very odd when they're trying to mix. I get that they didn't want to go full rated R. I mean, that would have been interesting if they did. I mean, but at the same time, it would have been a bit odd. But I think the Raimi type tone, I wouldn't say I was like freaked out in these sequences, which, I mean, I don't really get freaked out in horror movies, so yeah. But really, it didn't really, I think it did take a little bit of my jump. I was like, wait, what's going on now? Well, why did it switch so much? And then the way it switches between, like, it goes from normal MCU, decently lighthearted tone, with a little bit of Raimi, like the eyes popping out thing, and then to, like, Sam Raimi, not quite Evil Dead 2, I'd say, but basically almost Evil Dead 2, which some of that stuff I love, like Zombie Strange, like the Dark Hole, and the guy with the third eye. Raimi is the thing with eyes popping out, not going to show it too gory. So, yeah, overall, I still enjoyed it, but I don't know if the tone took away from that much of it, but it was very odd the way it kind of switched between tones. That was a bit of an issue, if you ask me. So, another one, the way the final battle played out, I didn't really dislike it exactly, but it did kind of hurt the movie because we didn't get enough of Zombie Strange, and none of the action was all that interesting. It was cool to look at, but like it wasn't that interesting, and I kind of wish we went back. This isn't really a flaw. This is kind of a nitpick, but as I said, I really kind of wish we went back to the extra drawing, kaleidoscope, Dark City, Inception type visuals. I get that they were trying to do something different. Maybe, yeah, okay, I already talked about this. So, yeah, I think that kind of concludes the bad. For this movie's final score, I don't know where to begin. I'm gonna give it like an 8 point. This is a tricky one. I'll let you know what I thought of it. All right, I'm gonna give it an 8.8 out of 10. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a bunch of things I really enjoyed. Wanda, I think, made for a great villain. Kind of a two-part to WandaVision that worked really nicely. You also have Doctor Strange. I think his little lesson involving not being so arrogant and holding the knife, or whatever the analogy that Rachel McAdams uses. And I think and I think Christine has a bit of a bigger role, and I kind of like that. And overall, I think this movie worked for me. At the same time, they could have. I think that I was expecting this to be one of the best MCU movies until I heard that it didn't get that good reviews. So some of my friends didn't like it. Others of them really liked it. I don't know where it's gonna place. I mean, I'm gonna probably rank the MCU movies in about a week from now. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. Subscribe. See you guys next time. Adios.